Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and the fine citizens of Monroe, Wisconsin. Thank you very much. It's indeed an honor and a privilege to be with you this evening. I almost said Monroe, Louisiana. You know, it's right next to my home state of Texas, but it's good to be with you this evening, virtually, to talk about important issues that are facing our country. Um, and I understand it's very cold out there tonight, blowing snow, and here it is, 2nd of April. Pretty incredible. But tonight I want to talk to you about something that's very important. We are in the midst of a presidential campaign. And typically, what you hear are candidates telling you what their positions are, what their plans are, what their ideals are. All I've heard in the course of this campaign has been name calling. All I heard in the course of this campaign is slandering. I've heard one candidate saying he wants to be a dictator on day one, but no really concrete ideals. Some far fetched ones, like totally revamping our government from a way it is to a new way, and it just that doesn't work. So tonight, I want to talk to you about my plans as president. You know, as we gather tonight to reflect on the trials and triumphs of the past 3 years, I stand before you not only as your leader, but as a fellow citizen, sharing a vision to renew the spirit of our great nation. We have faced unprecedented challenges, from the relentless grip of unprecedented pandemic to the growing polarization. Yet through it all, we have demonstrated a resilience that defines the American spirit. In the course of the past 3 years, our collective efforts have borne fruit, witnessing a remarkable reduction in unemployment from an alarming 15% to now an impressive 3.5%, 3.8%. And this is the first time since the 1960s we've been this low. Now, I want to put that in perspective. Think about where we were 4 years ago at this time. Our country was shut down. We were locked down. Our economy was on the brink. People were without work. Millions of people were without work in our country. We had to do what we had to do to stabilize the economy of this country, and that was to offer pandemic assistance. For if we hadn't done that, the economy of our country would have collapsed. And tonight I want to share with you my vision for America, which one of them is to get the people, our citizens who went on unemployment during the pandemic but never returned to work. It's time for them to get back to work. And we begin by returning everyone to work. My administration is committed to overhauling the unemployment system. No longer will it be susceptible to exploitation or our new enhanced unemployment system will mandate a minimum of 5 job interviews per week for benefits, ensuring that every able-bodied citizen is presented with ample opportunities for gainful employment. Now, let me be clear about that term tonight. When I say able-bodied, I'm excluding our seniors and stay-at-home parents. Who I am addressing, however, are those, despite the end of the pandemic, they've chosen unemployment and have not returned to the workforce. This status quo needs to change, and under my leadership, it will. Now you think about it. Millions of Americans were without work for a long time. Thankfully, the unemployment system of our country was there to help them. And that's what it is. It's a means to get a job. It's not a permanent stream of income. What happened though, as the pandemic eased, people got used of getting that weekly check, and continue getting the benefits while everyone else is at work. People in Monroe, I want you to think about this tonight. There are 1.6 jobs available for every person, every American. Everybody in Monroe, Wisconsin, everybody in the state of Wisconsin can have a job. They can have a job and a half if they really wanted it. Now, I know that we'll never get a 0.0 unemployment. That's not feasible. But I do firmly believe that we can get it to 3%. And enhanced unemployment will be a way to see that happen. And I'm not saying I don't know how it feels to be on unemployment. I do. And to me, every Thursday when those unemployment numbers came out, I was embarrassed. Every morning, I remember 8 o'clock, they come out on the news. And I knew that when those numbers came out, I was one of them. And I knew that it was going to be my goal that week to get a job. I've been through several, we call them migrations. I've been through several migrations of jobs, transferring overseas, transferring to different cities. I've been there, done that. And one time, my wife just told me flat out, Andrea told me flat out, she goes, this is your new job to find a new job. So for every person who's out of work across our country and able-bodied, your new job is to get a new job. On the topic of infrastructure, this initiative is not merely about fixing things. It's a deliberate effort to strengthen and modernize critical elements such as roads and bridges. Our commitment to improving infrastructure goes beyond immediate repairs. This initiative is a strategic, forward-looking endeavor aimed at enhancing the very foundation of our nation. We recognize that our roads, bridges, and other essential structures form the backbone of our society, facilitating economic activities, connectivity, and the overall well-being of our citizens. This improvement plan involves a meticulous assessment of current infrastructure conditions, identifying areas that require not only repairs, but comprehensive upgrades. We are focused on deploying advanced engineering solutions to ensure that our infrastructure not only meets existing standards, but anticipates and adapts to the evolving needs of our dynamic society. From the development of smarter transportation networks to incorporating innovative materials and construction methodologies, our aim is to create infrastructure that's not only durable, but also efficient. We envision a future where our citizens experience smoother commutes, safer travels, and a robust infrastructure network that facilitates economic growth and societal progress. Central to our strategy is recognizing the profound impact of our communities. It's not just about construction, it's about creating opportunities by investing in these improvements. We're stimulating local economies, generating jobs, yes, and breathing new life into neighborhoods, ensuring prosperity reaches every corner of our nation. A cornerstone of this initiative is our commitment to environmental stewardship. We are incorporating advanced technologies to make our infrastructure more eco-friendly, including significant investments in renewable energy projects such as solar and wind. Recognizing the need for collaboration, we emphasize bipartisanship, and I call on Congress to unite and pass comprehensive legislation that not only addresses immediate needs, but sets the foundation for sustained long-term development. Understanding the unpredictability of the future, our plan prioritizes resilience, strengthening our infrastructure ensures a quicker recovery in times of crisis. It underscores our nation's ability to rebound from unforeseen challenges. Beyond immediate concerns, the plan charts a course for the future, Strategic investments are intended to position the United States as a global leader, not just economically, but also in terms of technological innovation. This initiative transcends political affiliations. It is a collective effort reflecting the enduring spirit of our nation. And we will discuss this, I'm sure, all throughout this campaign. But let us remember as we discuss these things that it's opportunity for our country to work together, irrespective of differences, for the collective betterment of all. And really, it is. A lot of times when people get elected to Congress, they get to DC, they forget about where they came from. Very easily done. You can get up to DC and get caught in that circus. There's a TV show I know called The Circus a few years ago. Get caught in that circus, and you forget about your hometown. It's when you make that flight back home that you remember the people who elected you. And oftentimes, they call you out on the decisions you made in our nation's capital. We have to remember who elected us. We have to remember people who are in power, people who are in elected positions, have to remember who put them there. Because the moment you forget is the moment you can lose your chance at reelection. You know, and we're talking about renewable energy. We're talking about EVs. And one of the things that I will definitely look to repeal is the regulations requiring that 2/3 of all electric and hybrid vehicles be these vehicles by 2032. I've been on record saying this numerous times that the infrastructure of our country is not quite ready to support this. I talk about my hometown in Texas, a town of about 36,500 people. And there may be more, but I know of one charging station in the city of DeSoto, one at a restaurant. How is that going to facilitate the charging of, let's say, 15,000 vehicles in our town? It's not going to do it. But what I'll make a pledge for you this evening is that we will not fully transform to EV vehicles until the infrastructure is in place under my administration. I'm not going to set a hard deadline on it. I'm not going to sit here tonight and tell you we're going to do it by 2032. If it's 2032, 2042, 2052, it's when we're ready as a country. It's when we're ready as a country. You know, shifting our focus to the exorbitant cost of prescription drugs, this issue transcends mere policy. It is a moral imperative. It is unjust for individuals to bear the burden of paying hundreds of dollars for medications while you got Big Pharma over there reaping in immense profits, billions of dollars in profits, billions of dollars. And it's just not right. It's just not right. It's not right. And, you know, I talk a lot about education, married to an educator. I got a lot of friends in education. Good friend of mine, teacher back in Texas. And we all know that teachers don't make a lot of money. They do so much more and deserve so much more, but they don't make a whole lot of money. It should be the other way around. They do a whole lot. They deserve to get paid a whole lot. And we're going to work on that. We're going to work on that with back to basics. But bottom line is this. A friend of mine got a prescription, not for something she wanted, but something she needed. Anybody want to take a guess what the prescription cost? $700. $700 it cost her for a prescription that not she wanted or selected to have, she needed it. How is that fair? How is that fair? You know, and I'm not going to mention the drug, but there's this commercial, and it deals with middle-aged people, and I won't go beyond that, but he's got a convincing point about the cost of pharmaceutical medicine. This particular drug, if you get a prescription through a local drugstore, is $400. for if I remember right, you may correct me on this. It's 30 tablets. You get the generic brand, he pays like $38. Why can't that be the case for every single drug we have available? Oftentimes, Americans aren't taking these prescription drugs because they want to. It's because they need to. And how is that fair to pay that 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 price? How is that fair? I just don't get it. You know, and we talked about EVs, we talked about renewable energy. Another aspect of what I want to do in our nation is the issue of the borders. Let me affirm here tonight that the United States welcomes people, but it must occur through the proper channels, not through unauthorized crossings. We will diligently reestablish border control to ensure order and security. And you have my word on it. I made a trip to El Paso almost a year ago now, February of last year. And what I saw that morning was at the International Bridge, I saw hundreds of people coming into our country legally the right way. Matter of fact, one of my pastors back home in Texas is from Ghana. He didn't come to the country through the Rio Grande Valley. He came to the country via Dallas Fort Worth Airport and is on his way to becoming a United States citizen. That's the way you do it. But until we reestablish border control, we're going to have another crisis on our hands, and that's the fentanyl crisis unfolding within our nation. It demands urgent attention. This synthetic opioid, known for its formidable potency, has become a central figure in the ever-expanding narrative of the opioid epidemic. This crisis requires an approach from intensifying law enforcement efforts to dismantling illicit drug networks to enhancing addiction treatment accessibility within our healthcare systems. Addressing the fentanyl crisis mandates collaboration across various sectors, from government agencies and healthcare professionals to community organizations, to a unified and multifaceted approach. We can strive to stem the tide of this devastating epidemic by safeguarding communities and fostering a healthier, more resilient society. And think about the amount of fentanyl that comes across our border every day. And we all know it takes a small dose of it to kill somebody. There's enough fentanyl that comes across our border to kill every single American in this country. Pretty dramatic. Every single American. We have to fix this, folks, and it starts with border control. The Middle East has been marred by decades of conflict, and the Israeli-Palestinian issue remains at the heart of this turmoil. I firmly believe that a just and equitable solution lies in the establishment of two independent states, Israel and Palestine. I call it Palestine because we have Palestine, Texas, living side by side in peace and security. Supporting a two-state solution does not mean taking sides. Rather, it's an endorsement of a just and comprehensive resolution that accommodates the rights, security, and dignity of both Israelis and Palestinians. It calls for dialogue, diplomacy, and a commitment to finding common ground for the betterment of all involved. And really, it is. A two-state solution is, I think, the way to go about it. And I firmly believe in that, and I would definitely encourage that with President Netanyahu. It's got to be done. Every day that this crisis or this war continues in Gaza, a humanitarian crisis is increasing in Gaza. This reports this morning of a humanitarian aid truck being attacked wrongly, but being attacked and 7 people getting killed this morning. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. I believe in the sanctity of life. and I recognize the profound value of every individual. At the same time, I firmly believe in a woman's right to make choices about her own body and reproductive health. The issue of abortion rights is multifaceted, involving personal beliefs, ethical consideration, and legal frameworks. Supporting a woman's right to choose does not diminish the recognition of the inherent value of life. Rather, it acknowledges the complexities of individual circumstances and the autonomy that women deserve in making deeply personal decisions. As a society, we must strive to create an environment where women have access to comprehensive reproductive health care, education, and support. We do. Ever since they overturned Roe, and you think about it, deep down inside, I think it's wrong to take a life. My religion tells me that. My soul tells me that it's wrong to do that. But I have to support and defend the Constitution, and I also have to support and defend a citizen's right to choose. That's the country we live in. And so I don't think the United States government has the right to tell a woman, a man, or whoever what they do with their bodies. That's totally wrong. That decision should be made between that person and their doctor. Education reform stands as a pivotal cornerstone of our nation's restoration. Our classrooms should be sanctuaries of learning, not political battlegrounds. My education plan, called Back to Basics, aims to support teachers, provide quality education, and prepare students for the future by taking the politics out of the classroom. Central to this vision is a commitment to substantially increase teacher pay, coupled with the initiative for new teachers. Picture this. I want you to imagine this figure right now. Should we revert to the 2019 spending levels of the federal budget, we can redirect a surplus of 1.95 trillion towards our education system. This would only increase the current education budget by 1.61 trillion. And if you visited my website, you've seen my proposal for the budget. I am proposing that we increase the education budget, number one, by 1.61 trillion. This initiative translates to a remarkable increase in teacher pay. And think about this, in a state with the average of 300 teachers per district, and that's just the average we use, this increase amounts to approximately $500,000 per teacher. Now, here's where our promise to aspiring teachers shines. A commitment that if you were teaching and dedicate 1 year to your classroom, let's say you're brand new to education. I met one this morning, brand new to education, first year teacher. And let's say you're a mid-career person. Let's say you're not this. Well, let's say you are this new teacher with no experience, and there are quite a few out there. Let's say you are that, and let's say you're coming from another career, but you don't have your teacher certification. If you commit to teaching for 1 year, Back to Basics will pay for your certification. Now you're saying right now the states cover that, districts cover that. Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. But the federal government will pay for your certification if you commit to 1 year in the classroom. This initiative not only encourages new educators to join our ranks, but also underscores our dedication to support them from the very beginning. The amalgamation of increased teacher pay and certification support embodies our pledge to prioritize and honor our educators. It's a testament to our belief that a thriving education system starts with valuing and investing in those who shape it. Our teachers, we can chart a course toward a brighter educational landscape when where teachers are revered, supported, and fairly compensated. Let's pave the way for a future where excellence in education is not just a goal, but a reality for every student and educator alike. And part of that is restoring patriotism in our classrooms. One of the things that I like in my home state of Texas, and I know you're going to say there's a lot of things you may not like about Texas, and I get it, I understand it, but one of the things that I like is one of the things we have a law in our state that there must be a moment of silence every morning. And on a school that I'm very close to in Texas, that's done every single morning in that school. And we need to get back to teaching an unsanitized version of history. Right now, it is as if we're teaching this sanitized and cleaned up version of history. How are we preparing the next generation for leadership if we're not telling them the whole story? I'm not going to come up here, I'm not going to stand up here tonight and tell you that the United States of America did everything perfect in its almost 250 years of existence. It did not. It did not. So why should we teach it in our classrooms that we did everything perfect? We should be teaching that slavery was in our country. Was it wrong? Absolutely. We should teach the things that we did wrong. For if we teach them, we prepare this next generation for leadership so they don't repeat the same mistakes we did. You know, the plan that I'm unveiled, it's not merely a policy agenda. It is the opening chapter in our journey to restore greatness to the United States. The other day, Andre and I were having this talk about a speech I was getting ready to give. And she told me, she goes, Richard, you don't live in Ronald Reagan's America anymore. And, she's right. And if you think about it, if you look up and experience it like I did, I lived in the Reagan era. There was a difference in this country. Everybody saluted the flag. We loved our country. We were very patriotic. I'm not saying that it's not the case now, but there seems to be less of that. We need to go back to the aspect of the Reagan era. We need to go back to the aspect of when we're proud to be an American, when we salute the flag, when we say the pledge, when we support our country, when we serve our country. We do those things. We can return to greatness. Not that we're not great. We're a good country. We have our flaws. But I truly think if we do these things, we will be a much better country. There's another occupant of the Oval Office who over 20 years ago hung this painting in the Oval Office, and it's painted by a dear friend of his, a guy by name of Tom Lee. And this painting's called Near El Paso. And Tom writes about him and his wife, Sarah, living on the east side of the mountain. That Tom says, it's for it's living on the east side of the mountain that you see the sunrise of the day ahead, not the sunset of the day behind. My fellow Americans, there's so many people in this race who think they live on the west side of the mountain and the best days of our country are behind us. I firmly believe that we live on the east side of the mountain, and our best days are ahead of us. May God bless you. May God bless our troops, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you all very much, guys. Thank you.